Hopefully you know me by now. My name is Diana Paone. There's me at last year's event. Having a great time. I hope everybody's had a great time here today so far. Today we're going to talk about why it's important for you to keep records, the top 6 reasons why, okay? Tools of the trade, what the experts use when it comes to record keeping. We're going to talk about some examples, show you some examples live, what to do to plan for the unexpected. And at the end, we'll provide you with some helpful links and resources. So why keep records? Everybody keeps some kind of record. Maybe it's your steps for the day. What do you keep a record of, Jen?
I do track my steps.
Steps, okay. Everybody, I'm sorry? Your water intake, that's a great one. I don't know what I track, something. Okay. Okay, first of all, I want to talk about your independent contractor classification. So we heard in another session, you're not an employee of any mystery shopping company you work for. You are considered an independent contractor, which means you are a gig worker. You're self-employed. You're a freelancer. There's a million names for it. Ultimately, it means that you provide work on a contractual basis and you are subject to self-employment tax. So let's talk a little bit about what record keeping is exactly. It's just the process to record transactions and events in some kind of a accounting system, whatever that might be. Why it's important to keep good records. So one is to stay organized. It's going to help you make decisions on, maybe you're shopping for a day, maybe you're traveling, what you've done while you were out of town last time. You can see if that was a good, profitable venture for you last time you were out of town. Will it make sense for you to do it again this time? It's going to help you manage your cash flow, so you see yourself getting a little bit light on cash, go do more shops, right? But it's important to track it, right? Track your expenses and deductions, so a lot of things when it comes to being an independent contractor are deductible with your taxes, all right? Well, you can't see the yellow. Legal compliance, that's an important one. We want to make sure we're staying legal with the IRS, so it's important to track so that you're ready for when tax time comes. And then tax management. As an independent contractor, you are not taxed during the year, so it's up to you to remember to account for that in your system, okay? If you earn more than $600 with any mystery shopping company, over the course of a year, you will receive what's called a 1099. Most of you are probably familiar with that term already, or you've heard it today, if nothing else. So according to the IRS, does anybody know how long you should keep your employment records? It's at least 4 years. Four. Good guess. 5. Okay, well, I looked that up and it said 4, so that's what we're going with today. So if you do a lot of shopping for different mystery shopping companies, you might get more than one 1099. So for us, we have multiple platforms, as hopefully everyone knows by now, right? Sassy, if you earn $600 in Sassy, you'll get a 1099. If you earn a separate $600 in ShopMetrics, you'll get a separate 1099. Those are not combined. Maybe you earn 600 in Sassy and 400 in ShopMetrics, you'll just get the one for Sassy. We don't combine the two, okay? Presto, as you heard from the Presto presentation, is a different thing. You'll get something from Presto if you make over $600, but that's collectively for any mystery shopping company that you do work for, not just Ipsos. And then you could get something from PayPal that's called a 1099K. All that is a summary of everything that you're paid in PayPal. You do not have to file that with the IRS. It's just a record of everything that you're paid from in PayPal. That confuses a lot of people. Our Sassy and ShopMetrics systems, when you get your 1099, it's separate. You're not taxed on anything that's reimbursement. That's a question that I get asked a lot. Sassy separates your shopper pay and your reimbursement for the 1099. Presto does not. So as you're keeping your records throughout, your day, your week, whenever you're shopping, make sure you're accounting for what was actual shop pay and what was reimbursement in a separate way, because it will be combined into one when you get your Presto 1099. Oh, I forgot to tell you that all 1099s are required to be in the US mail by January 31st. So a lot of times it's February or March, and you guys say, we don't have our 1099 yet. It was mailed to you, so make sure you're keeping your mailing address up to date in your shopper profile. Reimbursement is not income. So if you're doing a shop that you're not actually getting paid for, but the pay is reimbursement, that's you don't get taxed on that. So tools of the trade. First, you got to decide what you're tracking, right? So your different tools are used for different tracking purposes. So if you're tracking your mileage, so if you're shopping anything more than on a casual basis, your mileage is tax deductible. Make sure you're tracking your mileage. We'll talk about how and the best way to do that in a little bit. Go back. Sorry. Your expenses, so we touched on that a little bit. Your expected shopper pay and reimbursements are not taxable, okay? And your gigs, that's the most important one, right? Tracking all the shops you do when you've gotten paid for them. That's what it's about, right? That's the bottom line. So the shops you completed, how many, what type, and what provider. These are the things that, are the top things that you'd typically be tracking. So some tools of the trade. Okay, when it comes to tracking your mileage, using a mileage tracking tool is key. Decide how you might want to use your tool. The most basic one that we said is a good idea is the IRS standard mileage deduction. It's super easy, it's fast. You need a starting mileage and you need an ending mileage, and that's it. The drawbacks to it are that you can't take any other deductions when you use it. That's just one standard deduction and there's nothing else that can be broken out. So while it's good and easy, and it might be good for somebody. Okay, thank you. Interest on your car loan, she said you can take. But while it might be good for somebody who just does a couple mystery shops here and there, if you're doing anything more, you want to do something that's a little bit more detailed. So another option that might be a better option is a mileage log book. The IRS loves written mileage logs. They're accurate, right? Because you're making a record of everything that you've done. It allows for other deductions, but it's a manual entry. You're writing into a log you could forget. So it's up to you. What we found is a really great tool to use is any one of the mileage tracking apps. So we've got a few examples up there, File, MileIQ, one of them is called Hurdler. There's tons of options out there. Most of them are free. If you don't use one and you're doing a lot of shops, you really should do some research on it and find one that you like. They're super easy to use. They work seamlessly in the background while you're just driving. You don't have to typically do anything to them. And a lot of times, the app will produce a tax document at the end of the month, year, whatever, that you can file right with the IRS. So let the app do the work, right? Why write things down, whatever. But if that's what works for you to write things down, by all means. So an efficient mileage tracking app automates everything for you with little intervention and helps you stay on top of your mileage, and it keeps you ready and compliant. So File, Hurdler, MileIQ, and something. I don't remember. I'll get back to you on that. So tracking your expenses. So stay organized for tax purposes. These items, most people don't know, or some people don't know about all of these, are considered tax deductible. So if you're doing lodging, so you're on that route and you're doing a lot of shops and you have to stay overnight, save your receipts. It's deductible. Food, so I put a little asterisk there. So anything that you need to eat outside of like a required reimbursement, that's deductible. That's part of your business. We've talked a lot today about building that business, that brand. This is all about running a business. Required purchases that the mystery shopping company requires you to do, those are all tax deductible. And again, we touched on mileage already. Office supplies, so computer, cell phone, printers, ink, your internet. That's cool. Your internet is tax deductible if you're using it for your mystery shopping business. And then some things that you might not consider are certification. So anytime you pay to get certified in something, we talked a little bit about the MSPA and how you might want to pay to get video certified. That's tax deductible. Events, this is tax deductible. It's going toward your business. A background check. the Best Buy project requires you to take a background check. That's part of running your business. That's tax deductible. And a safety vest, if you haven't gotten one yet, and any other required attire. Maybe you have to wear business casual clothes or closed-toed shoes and you don't have those. You're buying that as part of your job. Your business is requiring it. That's tax deductible. Keeping good expense records. So what I did here was I polled some of my shoppers that I worked with for a very long time that I know do a lot of shops to get some tips, some best practices. And Damien, who lives in Kentucky, said that he keeps good expense records and it helps him get everything logged correctly to where he's almost tax-free at the end of the year. Almost, that means that he's kept such good records that it reduces his, what is it called? Your taxable income, to where it's so low that you almost don't have to pay taxes. So that's great. That's how a small business should work. So tracking your gigs. This is the most important one, how you're gonna track your actual shops that you do. Personally, and I've actually talked to a lot of people, I just use Excel. Just make an Excel sheet. You can put everything in there. It's the easiest thing. Keep it simple. Go line by line for every shop you do. You can use, you can use software to connect your mileage, your gigs, and your other tracking all in one place so that when it comes tax time, you're ready. Sounds easy, right? If you stay organized from day one and you track from day one, it really is. So, do you have to track everything? Sort of. In Sassy, you can also view your payment history, but you can't export it. So there's good and bad things about all the platforms that you've met today. We're working to get this feature added. So you can go in there and you can look at your past shops, you can see what you've been paid, when you were paid, how much, all that, but you can't export it, okay? So good, but not great, but still a way to track without having to manually write everything down or whatever. Shop metrics, we pay weekly, okay? Every single week, if you've done shops that week, you'll get a pay statement. You can download all of those in Shop Metrics. So each one will have a unique number. You can save those on your desktop, whatever you choose to do with them. That's another way to track without having to manually enter something. I think that they stay forever.
So like, we need records for 4 years.
Yeah,
4 years.
I think so. As far as I know, they stay on that site for as long as you're a shopper. And then in Presto, so Presto is actually cool in many, many ways, as we've learned today. You can actually export, there's a filter, and I showed you sort of where it is in the app, that you can, I think it says paid there, or completed, exported paid shops. So you can sort by your paid shops. That is downloadable. Now, I did it from my app, and it came out in like a funky format that I couldn't read. So if you go to prestomaps.com, it downloads like in an Excel format, and there's your Excel sheet right there. So a lot of people have asked me today. A couple of years ago, we actually talked with a tax expert. We got questions submitted by our shoppers that the tax expert answered live in a thing with Carrie that we've done. There's the QR code if you want to get a deeper dive into it. It's going to be at the end of the presentation as well. Some examples that we're going to look at. Basic Excel, we talked about this. This is my favorite. It's super easy. If you're not familiar with Excel, get familiar with it. Everybody uses it. It's good. I'm looking at Bobby because he hates Excel. And you can see here that I've got the mystery shopping company. This is all sortable. If you're not familiar with Excel, you can put a filter on the top. Mystery shopping company, just some ideas, dates. Put what's important to you, what you want to track. But this is what I gave as an example. All the information, what location it was, the address, what project it was for, how much I was paid, how much I was reimbursed, when I got paid. That's important too. Remember to go back and fill in your records of when you actually received your pay. That's what it's all about, really, right? When you're getting paid. Oh, I'm sorry. So the MileIQ, this comes highly recommended by Tony Medina. I talked to him about this because he tracks this himself. MileIQ is really cool. So of the apps that we recommended earlier, MileIQ is the top one that we suggest. Again, if you need to track your mileage. it gives you a report. You can sort it by if you're doing personal stuff, you're doing stuff as your business for your mystery shopping company, your starting point, your ending point, your distance, the the current IRS rate for reimbursement on mileage. I think it's 65 cents right now. All of that, and it generates a report at the end that you can file for your taxes. So you don't have to do anything. MileIQ, very cool. And then if you're only doing a few shops, we already touched on this a little bit, but if you're only doing a few shops, you really don't need to make an Excel. You can just look in your shop log. Anything that's listed as pay approved or finalized means you got money coming in. Yay! Keep an eye on your PayPal account so you can see when that money comes in. We do send an email when we pay you, but sometimes that doesn't come through, so just look at that PayPal account. Again, we pay weekly. In November and December, we pay twice weekly as a way to thank you for all the hard work that you've done throughout the year. So I don't think there's other than Presto, I don't think there's another mystery shopping company that pays quite as fast as us. And then pay held and excluded, that means your shop didn't meet the minimum requirements. You're not gonna get paid for that shop. You wanna make sure you're tracking that too. And you can see I've got some examples here on where to look for what status your shop is in. So we have another shopper that says, I make a separate Excel sheet for each mystery shopping company, but with the same information. That way, she can compare, cross-check what she does, where is it most profitable for her. So this is just one of our little tips that we found by talking to some of our shoppers. It's broken out in case she wants to look at one specific mystery shopping company or study her earnings. So that's a great piece of advice right there. And then one more quote from Stan in Arizona. He says right after he completes the shop, he actually is a guy who writes everything down. So he's got a little notebook. He writes the shop name, address, all the information that he's found important. When his notebook is full, he scans it or he files it somewhere because he says the IRS loves written travel records. I believe that. So if that's your thing, write stuff down. That's what Stan recommends. All right, so planning for an unexpected. We talked a minute ago, you heard the word excluded or rejected. That happens, right? So we wanna make sure that we're tracking that stuff too. You've done a shop, maybe you did something incorrect, whatever it is, it doesn't meet our quality standards, but you need to make sure that you're not accounting for that as money coming in, or especially reimbursement coming in, because it's not gonna get reimbursed for something you spent. So, no pay. If you submitted a shop that doesn't meet the minimum requirements, you won't get paid for it. It happens sometimes, it's okay. Track it, make sure you're tracking it. Put it as a negative on your Excel sheet, whatever you gotta do. Track any expenses that you might have because they are still deductible. Even though you're not getting paid, you still wanna track those. And then remember that any reimbursements that you were expecting, you're not gonna get paid for. I think Jen told me about another member of our team who did a Red Lobster shop and didn't Cracker Barrel and didn't take her photos before she ate. It was her own project. So she spent $70 and she's not getting that reimbursed. So just something to pay attention to, and she would have had to track it on, that's it happens. Hungry, you just eat. Yes.
Say your shop is rejected in that situation, and she didn't take that, but those are the expenses.
Yes, but you're not gonna get reimbursed for it. So that's an expense, yes. That's the question. Yep. Okay, so best practices to avoid rejections. Move a little bit into this space. So it looked great on the computer. Go slow to go fast. That's what the first one says. It sounds kind of funny, right? Go slow to go fast. What does that even mean? Take your time. Read everything that you need to do. Give yourself a minute to breathe and absorb it. Ask us questions. You heard Jen say that earlier. If you don't know, try not to wait till the last day. Ask us questions so that you know you're getting there, you're doing it all right. You're not gonna get that rejected shop, right? Go slow to go fast. Choose wisely. So oftentimes we have shoppers who are assigned maybe 3 Panda shops and you go to location 1, but you enter it on location 2's evaluation form. Whoops. Might not get paid for that. So make sure that if you're assigned more than one shop, you're picking the right form from your shop log when you're filling it out. If you feel like you picked the wrong one, let us know. We can sometimes help you fix it on our end. So I said, keep it separated. So you've got shops that have a lot of photos, they're photo heavy. Take a picture of your hand before you start or some object. Take all your pictures, then take a picture of your hand again. That way, when you're uploading your pictures to that shop form, you know where to stop. You're not getting the picture from location 1 on location 2's form. Just a little tip. Oh, if you're not sure if you've got all your pictures you need, is it at that 45-degree angle that Sonic needs? I don't know. Let's take an extra picture to be sure. 50 degrees? We don't have a protractor. I can promise you that. We do not. Is that a word? Is that the right word? That's taking me back to like middle school math, which is not my strong suit at all. But yeah, no, so I'm sure 50 is okay. Don't tell Tony I said that though. Prove it. Keep your receipts. Don't ditch your receipts. Keep them. I recommend keeping them until you're paid. When you're paid, if you filed it in whatever tracking system you use, you can probably ditch the paper receipt. And last, communicate. You've heard us say that all day long. You think you messed up? Tell us. We can try to help you. I can't promise you we always can, but we will try to make it right. Just like you, we want you to get paid and we want that good shop data. So we're going to try to work with you to make it right. Helpful links and resources. Here you go. This is our tax webinar that I talked about a couple of slides ago. You can scan these. This will not be given out. Like, we won't probably be providing a copy. So if you want this, I'll leave it up on the screen. Yeah. The middle one is an example of an Excel. If anybody who's not familiar with it wants to get familiar with it, you can click this middle one and download it. And I've got like a couple of lines as an example that I've entered how you can track your shops. And the last one is to download the MileIQ app, the one that we recommend. But again, you can do research and do whatever makes sense for you.
Sometimes what I do if I'm doing a route and I have a lot of shops, I usually, will have like a thing, like shell or whatever, I'll be like 10 in a row. Except right now, we'll just print a photo out and I put that in there.
That's another good piece of advice. Thank you. So for anybody who didn't hear this, I forget your name, I'm so sorry. Kimberly said that she makes different folders in her phone for when she does shop, so she'll label it with whatever location she's at. When she's done, she'll after she gets paid, yes. Yes. And another thing I recommend while we're on this subject is take the photo with your camera of your phone. Don't take it where you're clicking and it says library or like camera. That's kind of taking it in the app itself. Take it with your phone and then upload it, because if you time out or the power goes out, you've lost your photos. So always take them. Yes. So always take them in the camera itself of your device, and then you can upload them to the shop that you're doing. Yeah. I've had it happen on a Best Buy audit, actually. Like, you just want to cry, but...
Wait till I make sure I submit it before I leave the store.
Yeah, that's another great piece of advice. If you can, submit it before you leave the store, in the parking lot. I mean, and I can't tell you, I'm sure some of you have done your shops and then you still have to go home and enter everything, and that's okay. Like, if that's your thing, that's great. But to be done when you're actually done, then you're done. When you're done shopping for the day, you go home. You don't have to sit at the computer for another hour and do whatever. So that's great advice too.
So if you're doing a marathon and you don't get reimbursed, but you have to buy something, how do you figure that reimbursement? I mean, like, sometimes I might buy like a $10 stuff, or other times I pay $10 for gas. So I mean, like, how do you?
So the reimbursement isn't part of like what we don't reimburse you, but you've made a purchase. You have to make a purchase, but we don't reimburse you. That's one of our shops. So that just goes to your expenses for your business.
I mean, like, is there like what? Is there a minimum maximum? Like, how does that?
I don't know. You'd have to. It was probably program specific, and I don't know about marathons, so I can try to find that out for you. But yeah. Yes.
I think on taxes, Schedule C, I think it just has one line for your gross amount, and then your reimbursables.
It's separate.
Included in that gross, but you subtract off reimbursables, and it's only a single line. And if you get audited, only at that point would you break it up and say, okay, here's all my digital receipts, here's my spreadsheet
Yeah.
for mileage and expenses and exactly where I got it from where, and maybe keep track of your PayPal statements monthly.
Yeah, so I do not claim in any way to be a tax expert like this much. So this gentleman is talking about taxes and line C and all that. This first QR code is from an actual tax guy. So go there. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Up next on this stage is going to be the oil and gas presentation by Jen and Sarah.
What is the difference between a social and a TIN?
What's the difference between a social and a TIN? A social is the number that's your personal number. Everybody has a different one that you get like basically when you're born. A TIN is your tax identification number. So you get that if you make a small business. That's what we were saying earlier that an EIN, employee identification number.
IRS number. You get it easily. I had to do it for my dad's estate years ago, so I just got another one for my business, even though I'm a horse business in the United States, money-wise. But I'm using an EIN.
It's free though, isn't it? Free to get?
Mystery shopping.
Yeah, so we take a TIN or an EIN, I believe, on our website. It's kind of interchangeable.
We're not actually doing wages. Wage companies
Yeah.
require a social security number.
Yeah.
If
And
if you're contracting, you should do EIN just a level.
And what it does is it keeps your business separate from your personal. A lot of people use the TIN, EIN way versus a lot of people have like other jobs and, stuff that they would use maybe for their social. And then this is, yeah.
So as a regular, just contractor, whatever, independent contractor versus an LLC, can I still file like on clothes that I buy and stuff like that?
I don't know about an LLC. That's not something I know.
Default for the EIN or business is that you're a sole proprietor, even if
You and your wife are joined.
All right, so we are going to wrap up this session.